So here with the new year, we also get new legal cases headed for the nation's highest court.
Our 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor, is joining now to talk about some of them. The actual cases, it seems the Supreme Court, though itself has accepted fewer cases than it has in years past. But some of them are a big deal. So why fewer cases? Anything to read into that?
Well, it's a good question. I think some of the experts are saying, well, the court is taking a wait and see approach because some people may not know, with the Supreme Court, you don't automatically get there. You have to file a writ of certiorari, and the court has to accept writ. And they get thousands of writs every year, and they accept less than 100. This term, though, the court has accepted about less than half than they normally do. So a lot of experts are saying, well, the court's taking a wait and see approach.
Waiting for...
Well, I don't know. You know, this is a pacifist court. So, right, so there's this notion, you hear the activist and pacifist court. And an activist court is one that's trying to actually make law, and a pacifist court is one that's really only looking at issues that are constitutional issues, which is really the point of the Supreme Court, is what is constitutional, what is related to that specific issue. So this court is a pacifist court at this point.
What are you looking for when they do sit down and start working on these cases in 2025? What are some of the cases you're looking at?
Right, well, there's a number of them. So I think the number one case is the ghost guns, which are developed where you take a number of parts and you put it together, and there's no serial number. And there's about 20,000 ghost guns out there right now. And so the question is, should the ATF be able to regulate these ghost guns?
Now that sounds like that would be an easy decision, like you don't want ghost guns, but then you start leaning into the Second Amendment, right?
That's right. And so the issue is, well, what is the definition of a firearm? And so what they're arguing, so this is a very technical argument, but this is the way it works within the law, which is, all right, is when you assemble a gun with all these various parts, does it fit the definition of a firearm? And if it does, then the ATF should be able to regulate, and if it doesn't, they shouldn't. I think they should be able to regulate because of the ultimate intent, and when you have 20,000 of these out on the streets, yeah, they should be able to regulate. So that's one. Yeah.
And then another one that's getting a lot of discussion in the political year would be the ban on gender-affirming care.
Right, which was a case that generated out of Tennessee. And there they were, the Tennessee passed a law that prohibited healthcare providers from performing transgender services. And so that's went to the Supreme Court. The ACLU and the Biden administration have actually challenged that. So we're going to hear argument. I think argument is scheduled for January 13th. So we're going to hear argument on that. That's going to be a big case.
TikTok's a big one. Now, for me, it's big because that's how I learn most of my dances. But there are big issues involved in this TikTok ban.
Well, TikTok is major, and that's set. The briefs are due on January 10th, and then January 19th is when TikTok is scheduled to either be sold or come off of the various apps. And so here, what you're looking at is this notion of, should the government be able to have this influence over the government? But here, of course, it's owned by ByteDance, which is a company out of China. They're in Beijing, and so they have this sort of military-civil arrangement where they have to disclose information to the government, and that's really what the concern is. So, you know, but President Trump, or President-elect Trump, said, well, TikTok's not that bad, suggesting that he may want to try and figure out a workaround around this. So,
by the 19th, but as far as what the court has to say.
Yeah. Well, the court has said we're going to get the briefs by the 10th, suggesting they're going to rule by the 19th. So I assume they're going to rule by the 19th, and then we'll see what happens. And if they say this is banned, the ban is effective, which I don't think they'll say, then we'll see what the Trump administration does.
Something to watch for these next 3 weeks. January's going to be busy. All right.
Start practicing your dances in the meantime, Tom.
Oh, I already practiced them, but
you
after
do?
the 19th, if we take it down, I'm going to have to.
You're not going to have any new ones.
I'll have to do my interpretive dance.
You got YouTube. There you go.
Yes, he's got YouTube.
Happy New Year. Good to see you, Whitney.
Happy New Year. Thank you.